My name is Ravi Verma. I am a Scrum.org professional Scrum trainer, and I am the founder and org whisperer at Smooth Apps. This video is a follow-on to my previous video on selective self-organization without personal or peer accountability. So if you haven't watched that, you might get more out of this video if you go back and watch that first. So in my last episode, I spoke about some pitfalls to watch out for when it comes to adopting Scrum, and I was vulnerable. I made myself vulnerable, and I shared my humanity, some of my blind spots or challenges that I face that prevent me from being a professional Scrum team member. Today I want to talk about the flip side, which is what is the role of servant leaders in creating an atmosphere where people have the courage, Scrum team members have the courage to hold themselves and each other accountable. So, real world story, I've been seeing this in multiple clients where we observed that the Scrum teams were not performing effectively and they were not holding each other accountable from a culture perspective. And we started asking the question, why is it that team members are hesitant or feel awkward in holding each other accountable? We had experiences where the team members would come to us or come to the Scrum Master one-on-one and share the concerns that so and so, this other team member is driving me nuts. They don't do their part. Maybe they're sandbagging. Every single day they show up at the daily Scrum and they keep saying, yeah, I'm working on this item. And sometimes they drag out one user story for 10 business days, when if I was given that user story, or if I had picked up that user story, I know I could have knocked it out, or we could have together knocked it out in 2 or 3 days. So we have these real world examples where Scrum team members are coming to the Scrum Master, or coming to me as a coach, and kind of complaining about their colleague. And when we ask them, what stops you from going and addressing this directly with your team member, here are some concerns. And I have been guilty of saying similar things in my career. One concern was, if I go and talk to that person directly, then I might screw up my personal relationship with that person. We've been friends for a long time. They come to my kids' birthday parties, I go to their kids' birthday parties, and that relationship is precious to me, the personal relationship. So I don't want to screw that up. Another reason is that person knows the CIO of the company. If I say something to them, or maybe there was a director who's a powerful person, if I challenge this team member of mine, they'll go running to the CIO's office or the director's office, they'll complain, and then I am the sole breadwinner of my family, I might get fired. What happens to my family then? Or I'm on an H-1B visa, what happens? If I get fired, then what happens to my family, right? So this could be another concern. So we started thinking about what is it that we may unintentionally be doing as leaders to either enable this behavior, or perhaps even engage in this similar behavior, or to condone this kind of behavior. So here are some things that if you might consider if you are a servant leader, not part of the Scrum team, but maybe you're a servant leader, you have a management position, or you're a stakeholder, and you're scratching your head trying to figure out what might I do to make it safe for Scrum team members to hold each other accountable. Number one is look in the mirror. Ask yourself, am I engaging in this behavior? So for example, if I am a director of software development and I have a problem with director of QA or director of project management, am I personally modeling the behavior that I would like my Scrum team members to exhibit? So if I have a problem with my colleague, do I go out, have a cup of coffee, tea, juice, maybe go for a walk with them and explain to them, hey, this is what it feels like to be in my shoes. Here's something that I observed that you said or did. My concern is that it may have an unintended consequence on the company. It is not in alignment with our culture, values, or our goals, shared goals. But this is just my perspective. I'd love to hear your perspective and together figure out what we can do better so that we support each other and in service of our shared goals, right? Is that what you are doing, or Are you just complaining about your colleague, director of QA, director of PMO, to everybody and their brother, and not tackling the issue head on with the one person who can make a difference? Because it's kind of like parenting. Just like in parenting, your kids are watching how you behave. So it's not about do as I say, it's more like do as I do. No matter what you say, they are observing you, and then they are using you as a role model, and they're behaving like you. Similarly, people who report to you, they're observing how you behave, and then they are modeling their own behavior, right? So if you feel that the people who are working for you, who report into you, they're not exhibiting that kind of self-organization, accountability, one place to start looking at is in the mirror. Say, am I modeling the behavior and teaching them how to behave? That's step number one. I think step number two could be, when you do observe people who are exhibiting that behavior, the desired behavior, see if you can find a way to give them a pat on the back one-on-one, and also in a public setting, in your all hands, in your staff meeting, if you can appreciate them and give concrete examples to show other people, this is the kind of behavior we're looking for. Okay, so someone had the courage to stick their neck out, try something that is very awkward. Now appreciate them and make it safe for them to continue exhibiting that behavior, and also invite other people to join them. So that as a leader, that's action 2 that you could consider. Number 3 is be vigilant and observe anti-patterns. So when people are not holding each other accountable, have one-on-one conversations where you explain to people who may not be exhibiting that behavior what you expect, so there is no ambiguity. So one of my current clients, he's a CIO, very inspiring servant leader, and he got sick and tired of people coming to his office and complaining to him about other people. So one day he said to me, look, Ravi, I'm going to give people some options when they come running to me complaining about someone else. The first thing I'm going to say is, I'm going to ask them, how did that person react when you shared this directly with that person? And chances are the answer is going to be, no, I didn't talk to him. And then I'm going to give them 2 options. Well, either you go talk to that person right now, or I'm going to schedule a meeting. I'm going to get both of you in my office, and you are going to say to each other what you've been saying to me about each other, and you're going to do this face to face. Choose which option would you like. So it's kind of like telling your kids, would you like your veggies before dessert or after dessert? But you're going to have veggies, right? So that's one option. Shut down the back door, the back channel. When people come running to you and complaining about a colleague, ask them, how did your colleague react when you shared this with them? And if you haven't, what's stopping you? How can I support you? And finally, if you're uncomfortable, then I'm going to get both of you together and you're going to talk to each other in front of me. Okay, those are your choices. I think the last thing for you to think about is your hiring. Is it possible that in your hiring process, you are not asking those scenario-based questions to gauge how people would handle these awkward situations? It's possible that you have like a glass ceiling in your hiring process where you are knowingly or unknowingly hiring people who engage in this kind of passive-aggressive behavior and who don't tackle issues head on. So that's something for you to look at. If your organization is full of people who are hesitant to exercise personal or peer accountability, look at your hiring process to say, am I weeding out those kind of people who will exhibit the desired behavior? So, and the last thing is, maybe your hiring process is okay, but you hire people who have the passion, who have the accountability, who are comfortable holding themselves and each other accountable. Maybe you are institutionalizing them in the sense that they come in with a lot of passion, but they observe how we do things here. That's the culture, the unspoken rules, what is acceptable and not. And then they say, oh, I get it. In this culture, it is not safe to hold each other accountable because bad things happen. And in that case, you've got to look in the mirror to say, how can I avoid reinforcing that myth, the legend, and then create a new legend, right? So if you're a servant leader, I hope that you found this useful. If you're a Scrum team member and you feel that the reason that the Scrum team is not holding each other accountable is because the management is knowingly or unknowingly creating a culture that prevents self-organization and accountability, I hope you will have the courage to go and speak truth to power. Either way, I hope you found this useful. Thank you, keep calm, and Scrum on.